Hey there, this video right here might be the most important video so far in the entire development series for my sci-fi FPS. Previously, there was nothing to do in the game, and now I've almost completely finished the basic game loop. In this video, we'll cover it all, and I'll explain the oddly simple reason behind why I was able to develop so much in such a short amount of time. Welcome to Devlog 6. Let's get right into the reason why I was able to do so much. During my time on YouTube, I've recommended many organization softwares like Milano and just recently Nuclino. Now, although these websites are filled with features, they've never really increased my productivity, and I find myself wasting time just making them look good. Around a month ago, I decided to go back to an old-fashioned Google Doc, and it's been the best decision I've made. I split the doc into 3 columns. The first provides a general overview of the goal, the second provides more detail, and the third shows the status. As it turns out, the lack of features on Google Doc has kept me on track. Prior to this, I would sometimes open up Unity, play my game once, and then close it and do something else. Now, I know exactly what to do, and it's the reason behind me having the most productive month ever. Throughout this process, I've had 3 things in mind. The first one was that I didn't want to polish, and rather stick to functionality. For that reason, a lot of the systems I will show off in this video are purely functional. Secondly, my long-term goal was to finish the game loop so that I could focus on content after that. Thirdly, and most importantly, I want immersion. The first big thing I made was a holo table and pod system. Essentially, you could select a mission from the holo table and then depart through a pod. This is where I faced large technical problems. Thus far, in-game interactions had happened through keys and prompts, things like press E to do something. This felt really cheap and restricted when used with the holotable. It didn't feel like you were choosing the mission. After a day of continual work, I got a great camera system working. The way it worked was that you would interact with a key. Then the camera would detach from the player and go to a set position. In this state, your cursor would be unlocked, allowing you to click on things. Clicking tab would pop you back into the player. Now, I can easily set this up on any interactable using my interactable script. I'll get into the script in a little bit. Anyways, the holotable can set a mission with these buttons. If a mission is set, you can enter a pod that can send you on a mission with an additional interaction. The pod was also slightly changed so that it could send you back to the ship after completing a mission. I'm really happy with how this turned out. After that, I created a weapon equip system. This time I encountered another problem. I added the same camera movement system as the holotable, but then realized that I would need additional sub-interactions within the interaction. First, you interact to look at all the weapons, and then you need to zoom in into each weapon. You also need to be able to switch which weapon holder you're looking at. This required additional coding and relied on another component. Because the camera movement was in the update function, I could simply change the camera's destination and it would smoothly move over. After getting the camera system to work, I had to get the weapons to actually equip to a certain slot. This was pretty simple, and I used player prefs to store the information for weapons. Picking a weapon would send information to an inventory manager, which would save information into the level. If you want, you can equip less weapons than your inventory slots and the game will adjust. I also made 2 changes to weapons. Firstly, they now switch using number keys, unlike the temporary 1 key that iterates through an array of weapons. I've also limited ammo, so your weapons no longer have infinite ammo and reloads. I also worked on a currency system. You can now collect loot, save it through scenes, and spend it in the industrial district, which has been blocked out. This is something I'm super proud of. When making the interaction script, I encountered a big problem. For example, let's say my holotable needs some variables, so I make those variables public. The problem is that a crate that shares the same script doesn't necessarily need the same variables. So how do I make an editor that adapts to the type of interactable that it's on? Well, here's how. I previously had bools for the type of interactable an object is. If the bool for holotable is ticked, then I can enable certain variables. To do this, I swiped some code I found from a Unity forum. Here it is. It basically checks certain bools and changes the inspector accordingly. To do this, you need the public variables that can be hidden and shown. then hide them in the inspector. Here's a sample of the code. Fill in the script, bool, and variable you want to reference, and then you'll be good to go. This also meant that I can combine interactables. For example, my holotable has a camera movement system and holotable functionality, so I just take both of them and the required variables pop up. I also had to create a mission system for the holotable so that it could spit out missions as you completed the previous ones. To do this, I created a simple array that could be extended by just increasing the number at the top. Each component within this list has a scene name, a mission type, a graphic for the holotable, and a mission description. It can easily be enlarged later on to accommodate more information. Now, after working so hard for so long, I didn't want to burn out, so I took up a new endeavor to work on that I knew I would enjoy: cloth physics. After looking at a few other Unity and Unreal devlogs, I saw cloth and instantly fell in love. The cloth just looks so good. As it turns out, it's also really easy to get cloth physics in Unity using their built-in cloth component. After getting it to work, I added a gradient material that I slapped together. And wow, for the majority of my game dev journey, I'd been using solid colors, but gradients look so good. Here are a few gradients on cloth objects. In the future, I plan to integrate more cloth into my maps just because I can't get it out of my mind. I also got a basic customization system working. Although it doesn't save your skins when you go on missions, the interface and basic functionality are there. You can interact with the station, then clicking on one of the bottom materials will change the entire weapon. If you don't want that, you can select a specific attachment and change that. Adding a new skin is as simple as putting a material on one of the spheres. Then the system takes care of it automatically. I also wanted to set up version control for the project, but the problem is that my project was too large for most VSCs. For that reason, I tried to cut down on the size, but I still couldn't get it within the bounds of version controls like Git, Perforce, or Plastic. I'm still trying to figure out how to get this to work, but if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I also finished this a long time ago and never showed it off, but the blockout for the industrial district has been completed. It's still very rough, but it will provide a great blockout for future art passes. Hey there, it's me from the future. While recording, I missed something which I just wanted to cover, which is that the scale of the project has completely changed from what it was a few months ago. For example, this is what my old player's base looked like, and this is what it looks like now. The old one was basically a square that the player could walk on. There was nothing to do, shoot, or interact with. It was just a good-looking cube. Now it's actually a ship filled with interactions and life. There's an even more drastic difference between the old and current shop or industrial district. The old one was just a strip with plants in the middle. There were stands littered around, all of which I plan to have purchasable products on. Now the industrial district is several times larger and looks so much better. It is also just in the blockout stage right now. After I complete the functionality for the basic game loop, I will shift my full attention to enemies. The enemies will get a complete rework from the bottom up. I will restart at the concepting stage, and I hope to create some incredible, smart, and fun enemies for the game. With that said, I'll see you in the next one.